If you can spend 5 days a week working for someone else, you can definitely spend a few hours a week working on building something for yourself. Because if you aren't working towards your ideal future, you're working towards someone else's. That's what today's video is all about. If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or like you're just not moving forward fast enough towards your goals, this video is for you. We're going to be breaking down exactly how you can change your life over the next 6 months. And the best part here, it's not about working harder or burning out. It's all about dedicating just one focused hour a day to deep, meaningful work that moves you towards your ideal future. So hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. So I want to kick things off by talking about a really powerful mindset shift, getting started with our future goals right now and bringing your ideal future into the present. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, it's a concept that completely changed the way that I approach my daily life. Think about your future self for a second. Picture what you'd like your life to look like in say 5 or 10 years time. What are you doing every single day? What habits are you doing? What kind of person are you becoming? Now, instead of waiting until everything's perfect to start living that life, start to bring those future habits into your present routine, but on a much smaller scale right now around what you can fit into your schedule. Let me give you an example. If your dream is to become a fiction writer who spends a couple of hours every morning crafting stories, don't wait until you have the perfect schedule, the ideal environment, or lots of free time. Get started now. Start with just 5 minutes of writing each morning. Gradually, you'll increase it to 15 minutes, then 30, and eventually you'll be able to write all morning. This approach is about consistency over intensity. If you wait for the perfect time to start, it might never happen. But if you start small and gradually build up what you're doing, those small actions will compound over time and lead to massive results. And here's the key point. If you're not already living parts of your ideal future now, it's going to be much harder to shift into that life later on. We've got to start acting like the future us right now in small, manageable ways. It's like dressing for the job we want, not the one we have now. Whether it's writing, coding, creating content, working out, or starting a business, start with what you can handle right now and grow from there. Next, let's talk about deep work. You've probably heard this term before, but it's more than just a buzzword. Deep work is all about undistracted, focused time that you can dedicate to doing your most important tasks. In a world filled with constant notifications, interruptions, and social media distractions, finding time for uninterrupted work can feel like a real uphill battle. And that's why deep work is so essential, because it's the key to getting more done in less time. So here's what deep work can do. It allows us to focus our minds on high-value tasks, those tasks that move the needle towards our goals the most. You're not just checking off low-level to-dos like responding to emails or scrolling mindlessly through socials, you're doing work that truly matters. Now, Cal Newport wrote the book Deep Work, and he talks about how our brains crave distraction, but to make progress on meaningful goals, we need to intentionally carve out time where we're fully immersed in a task. Not multitasking, not bouncing between tabs, just pure, focused effort. The beauty of deep work is that it's not about working longer hours. It's all about working smarter and more efficiently. Even just spending 1 hour a day on deep work every single day can lead to monumental changes. For example, if you're building a business, writing a book, or learning a new skill, that one focused hour will compound over time. And if you've read James Clear's Atomic Habits, you'll know that by 6 months, you'll be amazed at how far you will have come compared to someone who spends all of their day getting distracted or procrastinating. Something absolutely incredible happens when we start dedicating time to deep work. We start to build momentum. Think of it like this. Every time you invest an hour into focused work, it's like putting a deposit into a mental savings account for your future self. The more you invest, the more invested you'll feel. And the more invested you feel, the more you're going to want to keep going. Here's a truth that often gets overlooked. Passion isn't something that you just find. It's something that you need to build. A lot of people think that passion just magically appears, that one day you'll wake up excited and motivated to work towards your goals. But in reality, passion actually grows over time through consistent action. When you invest time into something, whether it's a business, a creative project, or learning a new skill, you start to uncover new layers of interest. You find things you didn't know that you were excited about. That's when passion really starts to grow. It's a byproduct of consistent effort. For example, when I was learning the guitar, There would be some days where I'd get frustrated and want to give up, but actually, when I made breakthroughs and I learned that I could play the guitar myself and create new music, that completely changed my focus and opinion on why I was learning in the first place, and I developed a new passion to be able to play music independently and just enjoy my time spent learning. And here's the best part. Once you've built that momentum, it's much harder to stop. You'll start to feel like you're wasting potential if you skip a day of deep work, and that sense of I don't want to lose that momentum is exactly what will keep you going when your motivation is low or on days when you just feel like giving up. Okay, so we've touched on mindset. Let's now dive into the practical side of routine design. This is where the magic really happens. Having a structured routine and process is crucial if we want to consistently do deep work without burning out. And here's a framework that I follow that's completely transformed my productivity throughout a day. I'll split my day into 4 distinct parts. In the morning, I'll use my time for deep, focused work that requires the most cognitive power and energy. I'll try and get these tasks done in a time block where it might be something like working on a business strategy, writing something, coding or designing, which requires deep thought and effort because my energy levels are highest in the morning. Then in the afternoon, I'll give my brain a little bit of rest time. I'll schedule in things that require less cognitive power, like meetings or reading a book or implementing something that I've prepared in the morning. And that means that I can just naturally allow my brain to rest while still being slightly productive. Then after that, I'll fit in something like a gym session or a social session to start to get my bracing brain to relax and settle while also building habits that I want to be working on in my personal life. I'll time block these into my calendar, and then I'll deliberately have the 4th block of the day for when I actually start to rest and wind down before bed so that I can get a good night's sleep and be as focused and productive in my following morning's focus session. When you break your day down like this, it ensures that you're making space for both creativity and recovery and work, while we're also not just pushing forward blindly. We're being intentional with our time, including our rest time, which we'll look at later. Another essential part of deep work is knowing how to prioritize effectively. We have time to do anything, but we shouldn't try and do everything. Instead of working on any task, we need to prioritize those tasks that move us forwards towards our goal the fastest, and we need to say no to pretty much everything else, regardless of how hard that might be. Let's look at how this works in practice by considering one of my task lists and something called an Eisenhower matrix. Now, as you can see at the top of my task list and the top of the Eisenhower matrix, I have my priority number 1, which is the task that directly moves me towards my long-term goal the fastest. It's that thing that if I only had an hour to spend working on today, it's the thing I would want to spend that hour focusing on. For me, this might be something to do with my business or writing something. It's that one thing that which will move me towards that goal. Priority number 2 is then those tasks that are still important, but that don't necessarily require as much focus or are necessarily direct movements towards that goal. This might be something like responding to emails, planning content, a work meeting. It doesn't really require the same energy of deep work, but we still need to get it done. And then everything in priorities 3 and 4 and in the lower boxes of the Eisenhower matrix are things that can kind of be pushed to the side. These are more administrative tasks or things like scrolling social media, checking messages, going to the shops, doing cooking. The further down we go, the less focus these tasks actually require. And by structuring our days around our priorities, we're ensuring that the most important tasks get done first before distractions take over. We're protecting our deep work time and using our energy where it matters the most. Now, this one is a bit controversial, but in my opinion, rest is just as important as work, if not more so. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that to achieve more, we need to grind non-stop. But here's the truth, rest fuels our productivity. If we want to sustain deep work over a long period of time, we need to build in time for breaks and recovery periods. That might mean taking a 30-minute walk, going to the gym, or even just having a day off completely. These breaks aren't wasted time, they're actually essential for recharging our mental energy, and we shouldn't feel bad about them. Now, while rest is important, so is experimentation. We don't want to be afraid to tweak our deep work routine. We want to be trying out new work environments, working at different times of day, or various different productivity techniques. The idea here is that we're constantly refining what works best for us. By experimenting and mixing things up, it also keeps us fresh and keeps what we're doing varied so that we're not doing the same thing every single day and starting to get bored. It's a bit like going to the gym and doing exactly the same exercises. At some point, you start to plateau and you need to try out different weights or different types of exercises to keep things fresh. If you've read pretty much any productivity book or watched this channel before, you'll know that consistency is the secret sauce to pretty much everything. Showing up every day, even when we don't feel like it, is what separates the high-performing people who succeed from the people who stay stuck where they are now. And let's be real, this is not going to be easy all the time. Some days, deep work will feel like a grind, but it's on those days, the days when you need to push through that resistance, that you build true momentum. The key is to create a system that makes it easy to be consistent. Block off that 1 hour each day and make it non-negotiable. It's just like getting up and going for a walk first thing. You don't want to skip it just because you're feeling a bit tired. You need to treat your deep work the same way. Over time, it becomes more of a habit, and habits are what drive long-term success. So there you have it. That's my deep work routine that, if stuck to, can transform your life over the next 6 months. Remember, the keys here are starting small and staying consistent while refining your process and mixing things up so you don't get bored. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I've got another great video and playlist looking at productivity and how we can use AI to get the most out of our day and our time. Thanks so much for watching and for being a subscriber, and I'll catch you again in the next video. See ya.